Good morning viewers, I am Nivedita Khandekar. I am going to interview Dr. D.K. Bhalla for diplomacyindia.com and sarkaritel.com. Dr. D.K. Bhalla is 86 batch IAS officer from Nagaland cadre. He has extensively worked in Northeast and important ministries in central government. He is known for his extraordinary work for the improvement of public distribution system and also his seminal work in sports and tourism in Nagaland. He has authored books on tourism, he has written on sustainable development and also now the latest book, Strategic Significance of Northeast India. Today's interview is in connection with this book. Welcome Dr. Bhalla.
Thank you, Nivedita.
We start our question with a very sort of background this thing. Northeast India forms a strategic link for India's Look East and now the Act East policy. For almost more than a decade now, there has been a relative peace in Northeast. Despite that, what do you think stops the economic growth in Northeast?
Nivedita, there are several factors. As you have rightly said, that the first and foremost factor in lagging, economic development is the security perception in the mind of the investors. Of necessity, private capital, wherever it has to go, it goes because of the profit motive. That is the main incentive. National development may be a byproduct of the private capital. And the northeast region of the country, it is bordering many countries, especially China, Myanmar, Asian countries. So the threat of that security perception that they are going to make the investment in the border areas is always going to be there. And our relationship with China has been slightly tardy in the past. It's improving, but not yet stable. Apart from that, the region is isolated and far away. Hardly a 22-kilometer stretch of Siliguri corridor that attaches this region, Chicken's Neck, to the rest of the country. So any time that perception is there, if it is cut off, what happens to their investments? So they would not like to. Third is that infrastructure. Although in last 40 years of independence, lot many centrally sponsored schemes have been there, and some progress has been made. The situation is not what it was in 1950s, but the progress has been very slow.
Yeah.
Centrally sponsored schemes, the central government has been giving the money, but then implementation lies with the state governments.
Yes.
And although there is a mechanism to monitor that the next plan, when you give the money, you like to monitor what is the progress. But beyond a point, you cannot press the states as to the urgency of doing things the way they should be done. This is one more constraint which is there. Another problem is the capacity of the region itself has not been the target of development.
Okay.
The target of development was, let us have infrastructure, let us have services. But let me tell you that ultimately, even if you have to make the roads, you have to make the rest of the things, let us say in telecom towers, etc. The contractors who are there in Northeast themselves neither have sufficient equipment, nor they have the trained manpower which can conceive projects or execute projects. So of necessity, big companies have to come in there, whether they are domestic companies or they are international companies. Without their involvement, the local contractors or the local people will not be able to develop. So these are many constraints that it is not only the peace from the various insurgent outfits which can usher in the development which is required, but all these factors need to be tackled. And I would say, to the credit of the present government, that it is not that earlier governments, they did not, push in the money, they did not, push in the schemes. It has happened in last 40 years. But the current government seems to be realizing the urgency, because if Act East policy has to happen and Northeast has to become not only the developed states of the nation but also a developmental hub of the Southeast Asian region, so then it has to be pushed in fast, and they are doing it.
This brings me to a question about manpower. You mentioned about lack of manpower. There has been, a lot of inward and outward migration, naturally for economic reasons. But then there have been incidents where those people who have come from outside in other states of India to Northeast, they have been targeted by the local ethnic groups. So how do you address this dichotomy of lack of manpower and the requirement vis-a-vis the manpower requirement for the industry or economic growth?
Very good question, and it's a complex one. See, the Northeast region has that inherent tendency, the people there, of wanting to have ethnic exclusivity, and that wanting to have ethnic exclusivity, couple it with immigration from the neighboring countries. If from neighboring countries a lot of immigration has happened, they have felt threatened not only for their jobs and economically, but then it has also accentuated the feeling of being left out and also threatening their ethnic identity. That is the reason why there have been a lot of ethnic revolts in the Northeast. You start with the Sons of the Soil movement, and then after that not only that they feel this towards the outsiders within the region itself. They feel threatened by rest of the states or rest of the groups, and that feeling is visible even in the recent things. You talk of Karbi Anglong, Karbi Dimesha, feeling is there. The moment Nagaland talks of Greater Nagaland, there has been a very severe reaction from Manipur, Arunachal and rest of it. You talk of Tripura, and it has been resident versus Bengalis or outsiders. You talk of Bodos, and they talk of Bodos versus non-Bodos. So on the one hand, this ethnic exclusivity desire has created a problem of state versus community, and also of communities versus communities.
Yes.
So this, of course, needs to be handled very sensibly and with a lot of sensitivity. But as far as the shortage of manpower, you have said that capacity building had to be handled with skill development, which I would say that current government, they are pushing it very hard, and this formation of the exclusive separate Ministry of Skill Development, it is going to help. We must give them few years, 2 to 3 years before we can assess the success of this scheme. But this is a move in the right direction.
We hope so. Viewers, we take a small break here. We have a lot more questions for Dr. Bhalla. We'll be back soon.